We do it all.
The future of radio is here. New era, TT Radio, Nett Radio. Let's go.
Well, if you want money, we're going to try and see how best we can help you get some of it. But I think you have to pass through all of us before. Hey, everybody, welcome to Every Cent Counts here on New Era TT Radio. This is where we are joined by Garth Thomas on a Monday. And of course, right, when we are here with Garth on a Monday, you know, it's a great morning. So, Mr. Thomas, a great Monday morning to you. How are you doing?
And a great Monday morning to you too, Sir Charles, and to all our listeners out there in New Era Radio TT land. I am doing great, although sometimes I don't feel so great, but I know I have to reaffirm that I am great, whether I feel so or not.
Yeah, it's very important.
With that. Yes?
Very, very important, God.
So it's another week, and that week is drawing us closer to the end of another year, which, you know, I mean, it has become so much the norm now that these years are passing in a blink, Sir Charles, because it was just January. And now we're here in November, and by the time you blink again, Sir Charles, is January 2026. Now, week before, Every Cent Count was brought to you by the word dynasty. Yeah, we call that, Sir Charles.
Yes, I do remember the word.
And that I had presented that word in the context of discussions on budget. Now you remember that I studiously avoided dealing with the national budget. And I was saying to people, you see, whatever they do or don't do at a national level, you still have a responsibility to make sure you engage mechanisms that will move you and your family forward. And it was in that context that I talked about dynasty, that families should have a discussion as to where they want their family line to go, what they want their family to be known about. You know, in Trinidad, we talk about Sabgas, all right? And in the States, they talk about the Rockefellers and so on. They have all of these dynasties out there. So we spoke about that, and I spoke about whether or not people really think about building a dynasty. Now, I know one of my colleagues in Toastmasters has articulated his vision that, you know, he is working toward building his family. He looking four generations ahead. He's not even looking at the next generation. He's looking 4 generations ahead. So his head is on. He has a focus on building that family into a dynasty. He's a rare individual, Sir Charles, and I am saying that he's on the right track. I give him kudos for 1, thinking that way, and 2, being brave enough to say that he's thinking that way, you know. And I'm hoping that other people are going to take example from him and think that way. So we talked about dynasty. Then last week we talked about principles. All right. And what is a principle? And we saw that a principle is an energy flow. It is the power of the principle in terms of building anything is that you want to have solid foundations. And principles provide solid foundations because principles are immutable. You know, they're always there. They don't go away and they don't change. All right. They provide in an uncertain world. Remember last week, Charles, we talked about life and the fact that in the center of life is this word if. L-I-F-E. Yes? So we said, you know, that is a good indication of the uncertainty that dwells in the middle of life. All right? So all your plan, you know, there are always things that are going to come out of left field. There are things that are going to happen that you couldn't anticipate. And there isn't anything you could do to change that. But all that does is reinforces the need for you to plan and be flexible, but most of all, to make sure that you're building on solid foundations. And the principles, I talked about 3 principles last week. All right. I talked about and these principles I've spoken about many times on the program. All right. I talked about the principle of seeking and finding, the validity of that principle. All right. And I'm coming back to that today from a different angle. But that was what I just recapping the programs for continuity. All right. That we said seek and you shall find. And then we said goat don't make sheep. All right. Which is always I love goat don't make sheep, Sir Charles, because it is something that resonates with us as Trinidadians. But very often we do not go beyond what is apparent. And goat don't make sheep is just another way of saying whatever you sow, you will reap. All right. And to say that if you want and to say that, you know, if you want to be rich, you have to sow seeds of riches and wealth. All right. Because everything produces after its own kind. That is a scientific principle, which we express as goat don't make sheep. You can't plant a pumpkin seed and expect to get a watermelon. It don't work. And in the same way, it doesn't work at that level in terms of how you live your life, in terms of the central principles upon which you're going to construct your dynasty, or you're going to lay the foundation for your family. To construct a dynasty, you want to engage these rock solid principles. So it was seek and ye shall find. Whatever you sow, you will reap. Goat don't make sheep. And the third principle was balance in all things. You really don't want to go off the deep end because balance is a principle. If you could build a real nice looking house, but if you have not built it in a manner that it is properly balanced throughout its structure and stuff, then it's going to fall, you know. Sooner or later, it's going to crumble. So you want to have the principle of balance as a key element in constructing the dynasty that you want your family to be. Yes? So that, you know, in days ahead, your great grandchildren will walk through the halls of your house and they will see your picture on the wall, and the story will be told about your exploits and about the stuff, the vision that you had and the stuff that you did to make sure that that vision became a reality. Yes? So Charles, it was dynasty and principle. And this week's word, the word for this week follows on from that. And I am going to quote my good partner. You know my good partner, Sir Charles?
Yeah. Deepak.
No, not Deepak.
Albert. Oh, okay. You see, you have good friends.
Well, I try to keep good company, you know. I mean, it might rub off on me. Who knows? All right. So the word for today, it says every cent counts is brought to you today by the word imagination. All right. Imagination. And the quote from Albert is that imagination is more important than knowledge. For knowledge is limited, whilst imagination encircles the world. Knowledge is limited, whereas imagination encircles the world. And so, Charles, every time I talk about imagination, I always think about, there are two things I think about, but one of the main ones I think about is this thing we call a cell phone. Because when I was growing up, Sir Charles, cell phones did not exist. All right. If you had a phone, it was this big black plastic thing with a metal dial that was plugged into the wall, and the connection in the wall was attached to we used to call it a telephone pole. Such as we don't have,
Yes.
we don't have telephone pole again. As a matter of fact, some people make a whole industry out of all the whole telephone line with all the copper and stuff in it. People thief copper line, la blash.
Yeah.
They strip out the copper and sell it out, because that was how a telephone operated, based upon a landline. We used to call it a landline. The cell phone, somebody such as used their imagination to conceive that we could have a phone that is not physically connected to anything, but that can connect the whole world. And that was a leap forward, such as, all right? Because the person who first thought about that, people must be saying they're mad, because the norm was, you must have, how are you going to connect? All right, you must have a telephone pole outside there. You must have telephone lines going down to the exchange. All right, and the exchange must have undersea cables, for this any conversation to take place. So it was totally, unheard of to have a mechanism that you could hold in your phone, apparently not connected to anything, but you could talk to somebody in Japan without raising your voice. That such as was a use of the imagination. Such as, huh?
Oh yes, you're so right.
Yeah. And you know what one of the dictionary definitions of imagination is the ability to create an image in your mind of something that you have never before seen or experienced. Imagine that, such as that each of us has the capacity to create images in our minds of stuff that has never yet happened. It's an amazing gift, such as, and it is a gift that we use very, 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 very minimally. And our poverty is the result of that. So, you talk about corruption, and the scripture speaks very powerfully about corruption. And it says, the love of money is the root of all evil. And the discussion we were just having there before Mr. Hotep, and then the guy before Mr. Hotep spoke clearly to that. All right? It is people who love money and prepare to do almost anything to get money. All right? So nothing wrong with money, but it is the love of it that inhibits us. And I thought that I think Mr. Hotep made a very powerful statement there when he talked about the fact that when you do not use, when you limit yourself to I can't remember exactly how did he say it. Like he was offered, somebody was offering him money, all right, to fold and to be a part of the whole corruption thing. And he said that, he didn't want to deny himself the opportunity to do things the right way, because it was developmental for him. That was keen insight. Those weren't the exact words that he used, but I thought it was well articulated, and it spoke directly, Sir Charles, to this whole thing about imagination. So you see, Sir Charles, I'm still on the whole issue of budget. All right, believe it or not, I am still on the issue of budget. And I was looking at the reason why, in my own experience, budgeting was not a big thing, And what I recognized was that, why should I do a budget that is going to tell me something that I already know? All right. I don't have enough money. I think St. Charles is the reason why most people don't do a budget, because you see, people start out knowing that they don't have enough money. Now, that is really a compelling reason to do a budget. The perception of limited financial resources would cause people to think to do that. But if you really stop to look at the flip side of that, you would see, well, if I do not have enough money, then I must budget, because it becomes requisite to use the little that I have as intelligently and as efficiently as I possibly can. But I'm saying that at an emotional level, such as you have to look at the emotional level, such as, because we are emotional people, all right, and very often emotions drive us rather than common sense. And when I speak of that, I always think such as of the little little story about the little proverb about the tortoise and the hare. All right. Now, nobody will ever contest the validity of that concept of the tortoise and the hare, but it provides a useful insight, such as into what I'm talking about our emotions. You look at the story, the proverb about the tortoise and the hare, and even though the tortoise wins the race, nevertheless, the more appealing image is the image of the hare. Am I right or am I wrong, Sir Charles? All right. Most people don't want to see themselves as a tortoise.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It is not an attractive image. And whilst your common sense tells you, yeah, the tortoise had limited resources in terms as far as speed was concerned, but he had a powerful resource in terms of his determination to succeed regardless of his impediment. And that is to be admired. But even after you work all of that out inside your head, Sir Charles, nobody really wants to be a tortoise.
No.
All right? I don't think that most people want to be a tortoise. People want to be a hare. So hear what people has come up with. Well, you know what? I'm going to be the hare, but I'm going to apply the tortoise philosophy. I'm not going to take for granted the pluses that I have in terms of speed. Yes, I'm not going to rest on that. I'm going to apply the diligence and the determination and the discipline that was demonstrated by the tortoise. Because, as I said, Charles, no matter how I think about it, I could tell you, I really don't want to be a tortoise. I want to be a hare. I want to bolt down the road fast. I suspect most people are like that. But I am saying, having diverted down that road slightly already, I am saying that when I spoke about principles, and when I spoke in the first session about dynasty, I kept referring to my wealth creation template, the 3 lines: the finish line, the start line, and the timeline. All right, as a template for planning, and I will keep reinforcing that. And the dynasty, the concept of the dynasty, related to the finish line. That is you want to have a finish line that is not even going to be achieved in your lifespan. Now that takes a lot of character, Sir Charles. All right, for you to say, well, look, I may not see the promised land, but I must move my family so many miles or yards or whatever closer to that. All right, to that promised land. Because if they take the baton from me and they continue the relay, all right, by the time they reach the end of their story, the family will be that much closer to becoming a dynasty. That kind of a thinking, Sir Charles, is not common, but it is necessary. Yeah. So I'm saying that we dealt with that issue last week. And in talking about those three lines, the finish line and the start line, I always emphasize in the start line that we are looking about resources. And remember when I defined a budget, I said that the budget is really a management tool and that it should not be limited to dollars and cents. It should not be just limited to finance. It's a management tool for maximizing the resources that are available to us. Yeah? And when we talk about resources that are available to us, we don't want to limit those resources to dollars and cents, all right, to the income stream, to the finances, all right. Anytime you're budgeting just in the context of the finances, then it's going to be, I think, a very frustrating exercise, and your the level of success that you will achieve, I think, is going to be questionable. But when you budget in the context of resources, you see, and I am really hoping that the national people responsible for the national budget and stuff will think about this. That we need to talk about resources, and you don't want a budget such as on diminishing resources and trying to put elastic in diminishing resources, because no matter how much elastic you put in diminishing resources, they're diminishing. And why are you engaging all your energy on diminishing resources when there are abundant resources that are available, such as, and remember I talked about the fact that we have tangible resources, which are the diminishing resources, and we have the intangible resources, which are abundant, which are almost boundless. So such as, you see how I come to imagination today? It was a bit of a long journey.
Yeah, but eventually you get there.
Yes, all right, but it is imagination. Our capacity, as we look at the resources that are available to us, to see what we can do, how we can manipulate, how we can create that vision of a dynasty, because the vision of a dynasty, such as, is a product of imagination, because it currently doesn't exist. So it is a question of you're creating in your mind images of your family becoming a dynasty. So you have to utilize your imagination. And that's why I bring Albert on the fray this morning, because, if Garth Thomas says so, it mightn't have much validity to it. But here we have a man who was unquestionably one of the most successful human beings on the planet, certainly one of the most brilliant human beings on the planet. And he says, if you read his stuff, he says that a lot of the discoveries that he made as a scientist, and that's why I like to use Albert, because Albert was a scientist and people have a great respect for science. Yes? And as a scientist, he said that the discoveries he made were more the product of his imagination than of his knowledge. Now, he wasn't dissing knowledge. He said, of course, knowledge is important. But he says knowledge is limited. He says, this is the crux of the matter. All right? Knowledge is limited. Why do you want to confine yourself to something that is limited when you have access to something that is limitless? Doesn't make sense, does it, such as?
No, it doesn't.
All right. So what you really should be focusing your energy on, and we talked about that last week in a measure, the whole issue of focus, the whole issue of paying attention, the whole issue of the fact that attention has a cost to it, and it means ignoring all of the unimportant, peripheral, maybe even very pleasurable activities in order to focus your attention and your energy on what you want to create, what is not yet, but which in your mind it is already existing, and you are focusing your attention and your energies in bringing it into being. And that is where Mr. Hotep was right on point, all right? Because that exercise has greater validity and value and power than just going along with the norm, shrugging your shoulders and saying, well, that is the way how the world operates. So what I will do? All right. That is a position a lot of people take because it is the easy way out. And I am not recommending the easy way out. Very often, the easy way out is the hardest way. All right. The result is never satisfying. All right. You have to subject yourself to the duress and the rigor of using your imagination. And I have given, such as in my wealth creation template, I have given a key lever that everyone can use. Such as, this is what I like about it. Very often you come across formulae for success. And many times when you come across these formulae, there are elements in it which are a little out of your reach, It's a little out of your ballpark and so on. I like to emphasize the fact that imagination, everybody has access to that. Every single person has an imagination. Maybe underutilized, maybe undervalued very often, but they have it. People have the capacity. And therefore, I gave this key question in my presentation, the question that will enable people to leverage, such as leverage. That's an important word, because leverage is about multiplying effort. That's what leverage is. A lever enables you, with the limited strength you have, to multiply that many times over in order to move what otherwise may be an immovable object. Yes? So I have given this lever in terms of the use of your imagination, because a lot of people say, boy, how can I use my imagination? And such as people use the imagination all the time, but in a negative sense, It is very easy to imagine that something will go wrong. You ever know?
Oh yeah.
Have you ever noticed how easy it is to imagine that some disaster will occur? All right? We can use our imagination to that extent very, very easily, and very often when we say, I know that was going to happen. All right? But it just illustrates the power of imagination. And I'm saying, why use your imagination negatively when you can use it positively? So I've developed the question, such as, and the question is such an easy question for everybody to ask. And that question is, how can I use the resources that I have? Hello, such as you have to go and borrow it from nobody, You identify the resources that you have. That is the start line. Yeah? Identify the resources that you have, both the tangible and the intangible, because they're supposed to work together. All right? So the key step is to identify the resources that you have. And once you have identified the resources, tangible and intangible, then you ask the question, how can I use the resources that I have to get what I want? Yes? To go where I want to go. All right? To go where nobody has dreamed I could go. Yes? To use the old Star Trek language. All right? Daring to go where no man has gone before. So, Charles, it's a journey that we must all engage, because if we don't engage a journey like that, so Charles, our life is going to be very blah, very full of disappointment and frustration. Those are the options, Sir Charles. But if you dare to dream and dare to believe and dare to use your imagination to create a picture of where you want to go, all right? And then you engaging your imagination and stuff, the means whereby you can get there. How can I use the resources that I have to get where I want to go? So, Charles, the challenge of the question is this. You cannot ask that question once or twice. Yes? And it is yourself you're asking this question, such as you. So you have to hope that somebody will be there to ask the question to. You there, you present. You understand your value as a human being. You understand that you are 110% priceless, as my polo shirt broadcast all the time. Yes? I am 110% priceless. So are you. That's my message to the world, Sir Charles. And once you recognize that you have real value, not minimal value, Sir Charles, but real serious value, then you say to yourself, boy, I have resources. I have resources. You don't feel that you are powerless. You have resources. And you're recognizing those resources by asking yourself the question, how can I use the resources that I have to get where I want to go? And as I was saying, you can't ask yourself the question once or twice. You have to keep asking yourself that question, especially such as when things get wrong. And let me tell you, things could get wrong. Things could get wrong very easily, you know, such as.
Very easy and very fast.
And very quick. Yeah. You see, you're right on the point there. All right. And it is when that happens, instead of panicking and asking and saying, God, why me? Oh God, give me a break. You don't want to go down that road. You don't want that to be the narrative. The narrative has to be, given this challenge that I'm facing, how can I use the resources that I have to get where I want to go, in spite of difficulties, in spite of challenges? Not because the road nice and smooth and easy and I could get there with little effort. No, the road is rough. The incline may be steep. All right, they might have some boulders coming down that you have to dodge. All right, that is all part of the game. Okay, but you have a resource, your imagination, and I have given you the key to leveraging this resource. And the key is a simple question, such as nobody has an excuse, because we all can ask the question. All that is required is the discipline of asking the question again and again. Such as, you know what you're trying to create when you keep asking yourself that question?
What is that?
Trying to create a mindset. A mindset based upon one of the principles, one of the key principles which I spoke about last week. You know what principle that is? That principle is seek and you shall find, because the question, how can I, is a seeking question. You know, you are looking for ways that you can use the resources that you have to move yourself and your family forward to the desired lifestyle that you have projected. Yes? So you want to understand that this is within reach, such as you can ask the question, but you want your mind to be working on it 24/7. You see, such as that is why that's why you have to keep asking the question, because you have to keep asking the question over time until it is an automatic response. All right. In other words, it becomes a product of a mindset. You will have developed what I call the how can I mindset. And the how can I mindset is a seeking mindset. So you don't even have to, you want to do it consciously until it becomes an automatic subconscious response. So it means such as that once you have established that response, it means that even when you are sleeping, your mind, and remember your mind and your brain work together. You know, I like to take the opportunity, such as to keep reminding people that the brain is not the mind. All right? The brain is the physical organ that stores information. And information has energy inherent in it. The nature of the universe is information. Actually, you know, my next partner that you called earlier on, Deepak Chopra talks about that. It's a scientific fact that the universe is made up of information and energy. Yes. So when you have a brain, your physical organ brain stores information, stores data, and the information that it stores generates a particular energy. And that energy is more powerful than gravity because that energy has been described as an electromagnetic field. So, Charles, we have the power, when we stick our hands in the air and we shout power to the people. All right, this is the real power, so Charles. Inside of our minds, inside of our brains, we have this mind, this electromagnetic field called our mind that is generated by the information that we put in. And such as that is why we need to really pay attention to our education system and the content of what we are putting into our children's minds. Because if we want these children who have to pick up the baton and move this nation forward, if we want to optimize the talent and energy and power that is resident within these children, the content of the education is critical. The curriculum needs to be under constant scrutiny because we are living in the technological age. There are opportunities now available to access information that were never available before. All right. Back in the day when I was growing up, if your parents were able to afford encyclopedias, a whole thing of encyclopedias, there used to be a variety of them out there. I'm sure you remember that. All right. And people used to be proud to have a set of encyclopedias in the living room. Yeah. Because it spoke about, it had a certain respectability attached to it, But I know a lot of those sets of encyclopedias never got used, Charles. Never. You had a lot of information imprisoned in these encyclopedias. Now, of course, we have the internet. We have Google. We have Bing. We have all of these search engines where we can access what, Charles? Information. How are we using these resources that are available to our students, our young people now? How are we using it so that they will grow up with a content of information that generates the kind of electromagnetic fields of energy that will move our nation forward? That's a serious question I just asked the University Charles. Very, very, very serious question. Because I am observing my grandchildren and other people's children and stuff. And I am looking and I'm saying, there's a generation that is coming up, such as, what we're going to call them, such as, we're going to call them the tablet generation. All right? Because most parents buy a tablet for their children. And I'm talking about 2-3-year-olds and stuff. And I am always, it always blows my mind how these little children know how to operate these tablets, such as they can access stuff on the tablets that I don't know how to access.
Yep.
All right. So that they tune their whole mind, their whole brain is wired to this tablet thing. But one of the fallouts that come from this tablet thing, the content that those tablets provide, especially the programs for young children and toddlers and stuff like that. All of them have primarily US based, And you have this phenomenon now where we have children growing up in Trinidad and Tobago who's speaking with a US accent. Have you encountered this, Charles? They're speaking with an accent that is a combination of their Trini language and the US. You could tell that they've had exposure through the tablet to all of these US idioms and stuff like that. It's amazing. All right. And it is a red flag as far as I'm concerned. We need Charles to be producing content, digital content for the education of our children, our grandchildren in particular. Because, Charles, I keep talking about 2050. Yes? 2050 is 25 years away and counting. It's not far, Sir Charles. The 5-year-olds that are being educated with the tablets now will be 30 years old come 2050, Sir Charles. They are going to be occupying positions of authority, or in the mix to move toward positions of authority come 2050. If we are serious as a nation about moving forward as a nation, we need to pay more attention to the inputs into the mind of this new generation coming up. Yes, the 4 and 5-year-olds. And you see that tablet thing? The tablet is a mechanism that we can use, but we need to take control of it. We need to start to control the inputs and the content that these children expose themselves to. Because, Charles, when they grow on this tablet, they spend a large portion of their day on the tablet. It becomes a primary and dominant influence in terms of their mindset.
Mm-hmm.
All right? That is a bomb waiting to explode, Sir Charles. All right? And it's convenient for parents because it reduces the demand on the time of the parents. So parents happy to give the children. I wonder, Sir Charles, if there are any households in Trinidad and Tobago where a tablet is not a present reality. I wonder. Because it doesn't matter. You know what happens, Sir Charles? If the parent locally cannot afford to get a tablet for the child, the relatives abroad will send it.
Yeah.
You know that happening, Sir Charles. They're glad to send down a tablet for the little grandchild, especially when they see the picture of and Sir Charles, they'll be so cute.
A tablet or a cell phone.
Or a cell phone,
Yeah.
Sir Charles. That's a standard gift that will come down from our diaspora to these little children here. Sir Charles, it is a worrisome thing. I'm sorry. It is a worrisome thing, but it is an opportunity that we must do something about, that we must seize, because that leverage, Sir Charles, how can I use the resources that I have to move my family forward to becoming a dynasty? I hope that all people out there in the diaspora who tune into this program will take me serious about this thing. There is an opportunity. It is within reach. Yes? Make sure that you become a part of making this thing happen for your family, because you have enough experience to see that in the absence of your family becoming a dynasty, they may get eliminated completely, Sir Charles. Between crime and all the other dotishness that's going on, they could just disappear into nothingness.
For real. And speaking of disappear, God, I have to cut out a couple of minutes earlier today.
All right, no problem.
So we have to leave it here for today. I'm not even able to open the lines at this point in time.
Yeah.
Because of some other commitments I have coming up. So let's tell people how to get in contact with you now.
Yes, you can WhatsApp me at 680-3185. So Charles, I must ask you to do a graphic of that number for me. 680-3185. Send me a WhatsApp message, give me your name and your contact number, and let us have a discussion about these things that will impact our future, and that we should understand that we have a responsibility and a capacity and an opportunity to structure that future experience. Yes?
Okay.
680-3185.
All right, God, thanks so much for always sharing your time and your energies and knowledge with us on the platform. And I wish you a good day and a great day and a great
No, we're not correct.
right? So
Actually, develop the great consciousness, the
Yes,
great
yes,
mindset. Yes, yes,
yeah.
yes.
All right, thanks much.
Okay, Sir Charles.
All right, so
God
people,
bless
this has been Every Cent Counts with Garth Thomas right here on New Era TT Radio.
Money, where I go, can't you see? I need you now.